The world won't understand you. Hey, but it's okay. Said the world won't understand you, 'cause I made you in my own way. Said the world won't understand you, 'cause I made you different.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 86 of In a Good Way podcast. Today's special guest is Tina Torres. Tina Torres is a singer, rapper, actor, makeup artist, figure skater. She grew up singing in church and also playing instruments. And it's an honor to have you here, Tina. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you got my attention, you popped up on my feed one day, right? But obviously it was about I guess you had done some interviews. So it was about all the music industry drama, right? That's how you popped up on my feed. And and it was like about something about Fat Joe. It was like Fat Joe is a liar, says Tina Torres or something. And I really don't know what, because at the same time, all these different things were popping up about Fat Joe, and obviously, like, I've done music my whole life, so I'm familiar with like Fat Joe or whatever. So I was like, oh, okay, got my attention. But I guess I didn't click on anyone's stuff till I saw yours. I was like, all right, let me hear what's going on with Fat Joe. Like why is he a liar? And all that good stuff. So then what got my attention was that I heard you speaking about spiritual stuff, and then I even read in the comments, and there was a lot of negative stuff, right? About when you were talking about spiritual stuff. And I was like, not to be all like, but I kind of felt it upset me, because they were like, I was like, are all these people that dumb that they don't understand spiritual stuff? Like, it was like, oh, here she go. Like, once people start talking that spiritual stuff, like blah, blah, and all this stuff. So I was like, then obviously that was the wrong platform to go deep into your spiritual walk. So I was like, you know what? Let me invite her on here, where that's all we talk about, right? So to kind of like get away from all that. We can still talk a little bit about the drama, because I know it's tied in to spiritual experiences you had as well.
A little, yeah. But we're moving forward at this point now, So this is the way now.
Absolutely. So, with all my guests, I started in the beginning, because most guests, I mean, everyone that has a spiritual walk, there was already things happening to them, at an early age, right?
Yeah.
Is there an echo right now or no? I don't know, but
no echo for me.
Okay. So, like when you obviously, I guess you were also a preacher's kid, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll talk about all that. So you were already around the environment, but you as yourself, were you having any kind of experiences, like anything, precognitive dreams, anything happened to you when you were growing up?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Okay. So
a lot. I've been prophesied over when I was a child. I was always prophesied that I was going to be singing, dancing, conquering the mountain of entertainment. Countless dreams. One of the most pertinent dreams, actually one that I remembered a couple days ago. This dream happened in 2008, where I was in the middle of this desolate place, brown grass, and there were metal fences around. And right in the middle of this area where it was fenced off, smack dab in the middle was a white vintage Rolls Royce that had suicide doors in the back, kind of like how the Lincoln Continental used to make it, with the benches. So I was sitting there in the back, facing Jay-Z and Beyonce, and we were all wearing white and having a conversation. So, and then that led to another dream, probably around the same time, where I was in the kitchen cooking with Jay-Z, and Beyonce comes up to me and starts just gently rubbing my back. And then Blue Ivy runs in little blue overalls. And this is before she was ever even released to the public. So I saw her in my dream before she came out in the public. So, and she ran up to me, and I just kind of picked her up. And I remember when Beyonce first showed her in that interview, my heart dropped, because I was like, oh my God, like I've seen her already, And then that dream led into another part of the dream where we were in a white Rolls Phantom, just racing through the streets of Monte Carlo. And I was kind of like in the back. Beyonce was here, Jay-Z was here, and I was just kind of like in the back, kind of like in the middle, looking, peering in between. So, just having those dreams years ago, and mind you, I was in church at the time, and I'm like, what does this like really mean? Like, what am I supposed to be doing out here?
So you weren't in the music industry yet?
No, at that point I had dabbled. So like I left home at 19 to try and go pursue my music dream. So I was in LA for a couple years by myself. And you know, just I was doing reference vocals for, you know, working with some producers. They actually, they're the juggernauts. They ended up going on to produce Jay-Z, Kanye, Chris Brown, Usher, everybody, you know what I mean? And so I was doing reference vocals for them, and then I just ended up going back home because I was like, I need Jesus. I was lost. I didn't know what I was doing. And then I was home again for a few years, for about 4.5, 5 years. And then that was during that time where I had that dream. So, and then in my mind, I was like, okay, so like, what am I doing here? You know, and that's what led me to pick up and move out to New York.
So has anything now, have you seen what those dreams meant, or you still haven't seen what they meant at this point?
Well, okay, so
I mean, not to jump way ahead, but since we kind of, because I mean,
might as well.
okay, yeah.
We're here to talk. Now that I've recollected, I got some information from somebody the other day, and you know, with all that has gone on with Jeffrey Epstein and everything, we're seeing public documents with Jay-Z and Beyonce on them. It is very likely that they could be going to prison at some point. The thing about it is now we're in this place where all of these satanic people are being exposed for what they're doing. So where does that leave us? What do we do? And that now, we as healers, it is time for us to come in and step in to establish forgiveness, love, mercy, and grace, so that these things stop on the planet. Because if we're gonna combat with, oh, death to all pedophiles, then we're just creating the same vibration.
Yeah, that's deep. Yeah, I'm definitely not as forgiving as you yet, but I'm sure I'll get there, right? Well, as far as I think that's my thing, right? Like the whole, obviously, like pedophile things. That would be my, you know.
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm gonna get really personal right now because, growing up, my cousins, my two younger cousins, they were sexually abused by their biological father. And this was a man that would come to our church and would just stare down girls and everything. And there was a woman in our church who just one day during service started freaking out, and she got a word, and she was like, he's harming them. Sure enough, we came to that conclusion. And going through my own journey, because as a secondhand victim, experiencing, like, seeing my little cousins, obviously I didn't physically see them, but hearing the information, seeing them, seeing everything that was going on. They say secondhand trauma victims they take on the most trauma. So having to come to terms with forgiving even him, who even passed away, with what he did to my cousins, that it's been a journey.
Wow. I mean, for the most part, like, are you familiar with like NDE, near death experiences?
I mean, like, have I had my own?
I mean, yeah, sure. Have you had your own, or?
I mean, not like anywhere like I've seen the light or anything, but I mean, I've almost kind of died. But yeah, I mean, I know people who have, yes.
Because like, even that, right, amongst you don't hear, because I hear echo on my end, but it's you don't hear it on your end, right? So you're good.
No, do you want me to try to put a headset on?
No, you're good. I'll just lower it on my. You can still hear me perfectly.
Yeah, you're clear.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so like, yeah, like now, like people that have died and came back, like almost like they were shown that, like somehow, even people that had been abused or something, that it was like almost part of like this journey that was written, right? Like that's just the way it was gonna be, and there's lessons in that, right? Like one person I interviewed, it was like that in a past life, maybe they had been the abuser, right? And so now this person in this life, but it was to break these karmic cycles, right? But it's just, so with that understanding, I get it. Like I could get I guess just in this body, right? Like the way I would think is, obviously I grew up to think that way, right? Obviously that like that's the unforgivable thing, right? Like there's so many things, but it's like hurting children, because it's almost like when you hurt someone when they're young. I've seen it. I met so many people that were abused, and there's always things that they carry, right? It's like these, almost like this demon that attaches itself to you, whether you're conscious of it or not. Like
Mhm.
for even people that are into their 40s and it's still like affecting them, and it sent their whole life into so many things that they did to themselves, whether alcoholism or something. And you got to trace it back. When did it start? And a lot of times it was from those abuses. So it's almost like you did kill someone. You killed someone's spirit in a way.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So that's why I take it like a little more personal. Like it's not just the physical body. It's like you did something to them on that soul level. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So let's talk about, because I heard you mention how, like that, right? You were a preacher's kid. So was your dad upset that you left the church and you're like over here moving to the entertainment industry?
Oh my God, it was the same vibration of like an Amish person leading their community and being like shunned, you know, the same thing. And I had just a whole, because of my dad's followers, um, that projection of people. Oh, she's of the devil. She's doing this, you know.
Oh, wow. And so what made you finally, because I went through that kind of like, it almost feels like a crisis where, you know, when things started because things started happening to me at an early age too, right? So for me, the only reference I had was a Bible, right? I started having premonitions. So I didn't have anyone. So I was like, obviously at church, they'll be able to help me, right? They must know, like, this is the place to go. But it was like, if no one really believed the stuff that was in the book, right? So here I am trying to find, like, hey, what happened to so and so is happening to me in this prison, in this prison, in this prison. But then, like, in the church, it was like, wow, it's almost like, well, and even the Old Testament, right? Like, that doesn't matter no more. It's all about the New Testament now.
Right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So you saw all that stuff, right? Like being in the church and all that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And even that, I was trying to listen. At one point, one of the preachers said, but don't take my word for it. You read the book yourself. So I did. I think the summer when I was 18, I spent the whole summer with a big old dictionary, a Bible. I bought this huge Bible so I could read easier, had coffee, and then I spent the whole summer. Anything I didn't understand, I would write the word down and look up the definition, right? So it took me the
Uh,
whole summer to read the Bible, right? And then so there were so many things that happened at church, because I heard you mention how your dad was like hardcore, like zealous, like, hey, this is the way you're so I was the same way, like, probably at 18, you're sitting at the dinner table and your families, you could tell they're tired, like they don't want to hear this Bible stuff no more, they get all like, oh my God, like shut up already kind of thing, but
you're casting your pearls.
huh?
So you were casting your pearls.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, exactly. It was like, I got it though after. It's almost like when they say like a baby rattlesnake has it, when it bites you, it releases more venom than the mature ones. They know how to control it already. So it's like that,
Mhm.
like the baby rattlesnake, like you're just so excited, you're just like
Yeah, yeah,
throwing out everything. Like you
yeah,
haven't learned how to, like, okay, read the room, and okay, people don't want to hear about this stuff. Let me just, or not cast my pearls where they're not gonna be appreciated or whatever,
yeah.
right? So even that, I mean, do you mind going back and talking about that with your dad? Like, do you know what got your dad so like zealous to be a preacher and all that?
Oh yeah. Oh well, he almost went to prison for attempted murder at
Mm.
18. Being in the streets in the Bay, and then he got saved in jail, and then he joined Victory Outreach, and that whole thing is now you have this gang mentality mixed with this religious mentality, which is it's a very interesting formula. So the thing about my father though is that he was very gifted to be able to dissect information, comprehend, and get down to the truth. So he became so, like, because of that, he followed the word to the letter. And even in our English language, which is kind of, it's been skewed and all, like it's really, you have to read the Bible um with a spiritual mind, you know what I mean, to be able, and then you got to break down different words in the Greek and the Hebrew, really dissect it. So a lot of people really don't necessarily know how to read the Bible properly, but he had that kind of gift too. The only thing is he took it so law based, you know what I mean, which created a cultish kind of environment and community. So
Mm.
then when people would leave our community, like, oh, you're supposed to be lawyer, you're supposed to blah, 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 friendship with the world is enmity with God, why are you doing that, blah, 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 then it now becomes guilt, shame, condemnation, you
Uh,
know? And so, for me, I just, like, obviously I was under that for a while. And then what got me out was just wanting to experience the world.
Ah.
And then, going on the other side of the scale, and then now coming back to a place of balance.
Okay, so let's talk about that then. So when you left and you started experiencing the world, like what kind of things began to happen to you that like you're just opening up like at that point?
Well, sexual abuse, one. Just, going out there and experiencing, different types of energies and people that have ill intention.
Mm.
Um, and just, started to experience, depression, anxiety. But all of that is part of my soul starseed journey too, going through that dark night of the soul. So having to experience all this and even being, at one point on the verge of like making it and then getting raped, waking up in my apartment in New York, like it looking like a murder scene and I was choking on throw up. And oh my God, I just lost my train of thought.
No, you're good.
So yeah, and then just going through all that and then having to just cope, alcohol, and the alcohol is probably what got me into precarious positions at times too, because I would black out.
Oh,
And it would give room for people to take advantage of me. The situation that I just talked about though, I could have been drugged because it was like how like it was way too off, you know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I heard you talk about it. You know, well, since we're on the subject, you talked about even that, like when you shared. Actually, it's funny because that's a story where people were like saying stuff, and I was like, I was like, why are like people are stupid, you know? But
Yeah, I don't go and read comments of people. People have
no,
their own, you know,
yeah,
I
no,
get
that's
it.
good.
I'm on TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, that's good. That's good that you don't, right? Like, I guess just my curious, inquisitive mind, right? I was like, for some reason, I think I was meant to then or something, right? Because maybe that's the reason that I was like, you know what? Let me invite her on the show. So maybe it was just meant, right? But you talked about it, a spiritual experience tied to that, right? Like, I don't know if you want to run, like, you don't have to, talk about the whole thing, but how even after you had a dream about what had happened, right? And that got my attention too. So I don't know if you want to talk about that and
Yeah,
what you felt about that after.
well, this whole all the sexual abuse and everything, it put me in a place where it like I had to break out because of so much pain, and then I started to have just like past life recollections, future. I was actually my first recollection was a memory of the future, where I was on a space station overlooking the planet, and I was with a man who had like kind of gray hair and these glasses on, and he was like, "You got to go back in time to help assist humanity." And I was like, "Nah," and he was like, "We need you," and I'm like, "Okay," you know. And from then on, and then I started just channeling this higher Pleiadian self of me. Even in like, I did a photo shoot. Like my hair used to be like red, and at that time I had like these blonde roots, and like, and then looking back at the photo over time, she started to become very much alive in me and tapping into that higher self, the guidance, you know what I mean? So I discovered I am a star seed that specifically I resonate with my Pleiadian life because we're all multidimensional. We've lived many, many lives and been in different spaces of time. But the Pleiadian one is necessary for this specific time and space to help raise the vibrational frequency of the planet.
Okay, now you're talking my language. See, because I always, when I interview someone, I'm always like, I don't know how deep I could go. I don't know what they're aware of. So I'm always like, okay, let me just
Yeah.
keep throwing stuff out until, Pleiadians are very significant to me as well. Like, you know, I might as well. I feel like my guests have probably heard all these stories before, but just so you understand like something. So maybe that's why I told you when we started the interview, I feel like something, right? Like there's something. And right now too, when you were sharing that, I got chills everywhere, right? So I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Cause the same, I've had, and people have told me in private, right? They don't want to come on and talk about it on the podcast, but I've seen myself too on a spaceship, right? I don't know if I've shared this with anyone, but to me, it was mind blowing because it almost the same. It's like a memory. It's like whatever you did this morning. You remember putting your clothes on. You remember cooking eggs. You remember whatever. So all of a sudden, it's in there like a memory. Sometimes it comes in dreams. Sometimes I'm just like, whatever, right? Like even that. It was funny. Before I interviewed you, I started. I was in the shower. It happens to me so much in the shower because I used to think just because the shower is like a portal, right? We come to this earth through the woman encased in water, right? That's a portal.
Yep.
So it always, I'll be in the shower and then vroom, I'll start having all these like visions, right?
Yep.
And so I felt like it was a vision about you. I saw this like, it was weird, so colorful. It was like this, and she was like a feminine person, and she was sitting like that, and there was all these geometric patterns all over, and it was just like this other thing. But then it showed me almost like another life of this person, right? And then it was like a warrior kind of thing. So almost, and I was like, I felt like that it was you, like in different lives. Like in one, it was like this very just connected to everything kind of being, and then another one, there was that warrior thing too. And it's funny because you have that demeanor too. See, like look at you already like like leaning forward. See, it comes out like in people's mannerisms and everything, whether they're aware of it or not, you know?
Yeah, that warrior probably is some native that I was, because I remember I was on mushrooms one time and just looking in the mirror and she just appeared. And I was like, oh, shoot.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and about like the native stuff, I had so many. I would dream, and I was always in a ceremony. I would dream of like I was with a tribe in a coming of age ceremony in Virginia. I would wake up, I'll Google it, like it's like you would know. And then I was like, oh shoot, how could I even know this? That they did a ceremony by the river. It was this, it was everything, like to the T. Or I was like in a longhouse sweat. I didn't even know those existed because that's when my life changed, right? I was first around the church stuff, then eventually I found a native community and I started going to ceremonies and everything and all that. But almost like that was my path. Because you talked about even free. I know I'm jumping all over the freaking place. So
that's okay. I'm there. I'm with it.
Okay. So even the first time I was in college and I was taking a world religions class, and they were like, oh, for extra credit, go to every religion you go to, it's extra credit. So I went to every, I went to like the Sheik and, like, I don't know if I went to Muslim one, but then I went to like, a Christian one, Sheik, all the different Buddhist temple, Hindu temple. And then I went to a native powwow. There was someone on IG that was like, she was native and she said, oh, my tribe's having a powwow. She happened to tell me. So I went, and when I heard the drums, my eyes just filled up with tears. It spoke to my spirit. I was like, holy. Yeah, and I had never been to a powwow or nothing, and here I am already in college, and it just like, ooh, I couldn't, like, I couldn't like contain, like, I was just like, oh shoot, like trying to be tough still, but I was like, damn, why are my eyes like, you know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to cry. But then, later on, like even that, I heard you mention that you're part Peruvian too, right?
Yeah.
I said it right, Peruvian. That's how you,
yeah.
And that was one of my visions. In the vision, there was a hawk screeching at me, like trying to tell me to wake up. And then I look up and there's all these things. And it was crazy. Then I woke up and I looked it up. I was like, what does this mean? And it was a tribe in Peru that lived like 600 years before the Inca. And it was like, I had it for 2 days, that vision. And then in one of them, I'm running with these kids up a mountain. I was like, I don't have kids. So I was like, that's my kids. Like, but we were like, and it was a civilization that the Incas actually attacked. Here I thought like the Incas were all peaceful, but they were actually the ones that brought the demise of that civilization. It was called the Warriors of the Clouds. And that's what it was. It was like in that vision,
because the in Peru they talk about Pleiades a lot.
Oh wow. Yeah, but these were just called, like, I don't know. And it said they were a mixture of medicine men and like warriors too, right? But when I looked up in the dream, I looked up at the clouds and there were all these warriors, right? And so when I Googled it, the statues that they still have there, they're called the warrior. That was the tribe, Warriors of the Clouds. So I literally woke up and I was like, what is the spiritual meaning of seeing warriors in the clouds? And boom, it popped up, Warriors of the Clouds, a tribe in Peru, right? And the way the hawk was screeching at me, like, wake up, like, I was like, oh shoot, you know what I mean? So it was crazy. It was, and then I was like, oh wow, so I must have been, part of that tribe, part of the one in Virginia, part of the Iroquois, Oh, one of the saddest ones I saw that I know I'm go shoot, because I don't want to make this about me, obviously, right? But
No, I know, but I'm all interested now. So.
one of the one I actually went to a ceremony, right? A native ceremony, and the medicine man, he handed something to me and he's all, hold this and tell me what you see, you know? And so I was holding it and boom, I was instantly back like with the Aztec pyramid, right? Like you could see the sun pyramid. Shit, I don't even want to talk about. I got emotional for some reason. It was crazy. It was like beautiful. It was like before the conquista, and it was like my mom holding me up as a little native baby, and it was the most beautiful thing you ever seen. It was like all the lies they said. Oh, these Aztecs were just bloodthirsty, blah blah blah, all this and that. It was like it was just the most beautiful thing you ever seen in your life, you know. And yeah, that hit me to my core, and I started crying, like, you know, as I saw this vision right there, and I was awake. It wasn't just a dream or nothing. I just started crying because I was like, wow, and my heart just lit up, right? It was like wow, that was me as a baby, and that was my mom holding me up, and it just looked, you know, the sun was shining behind the pyramid, like I think it was the pyramid of the sun or something, and you could see the temples behind. It was just the most beautiful thing.
What location?
You never been to Tenochtitlan, the Mexico City?
No,
Tenochtitlan.
not yet.
The sun pyramid is called Teotihuacan, and then I really don't remember when I was little we had gone there. That's why it's funny. Like I remember going to that pyramid, and something made me. I had to stand on the tallest stone of the sun pyramid. Right? It was just like I had to climb because my parents didn't. They were like, we don't feel like climbing that. You know, and me and my brothers went all. And I remember I just wanted to stand on the tallest stone of the sun pyramid. But it was like you know, but that happened a few years ago when I was in a ceremony, and you know, that happened, right? So have you been shown that about, yeah, so now I'll tell you about the Pleiadians right now, but I feel like I've been talking all this time, so I want to make sure I allow you to get in there. Like, so what have you been shown then, like about the Pleiadians and your native lives and all that stuff?
I mean, for right now, that's kind of pretty much it. I haven't had like specific events and things flash before my eyes, so it's more feeling. And
Mm,
so what I'm stepping into is that feeling of of my Pleiadian higher self to bring heaven on earth.
mm,
So I move about the earth innately, and I'm just led, you know.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Okay then. So you can keep, yeah. I was no, because it's funny. Like when I seen your interview, I was like, oh, okay. I'll tell her something, and then she'll. I think because I guess with the questions of like the industry, there's like so much to talk about with the, you know, like the
Yeah.
right. But okay, I'll tell you my Palladian story then. So my brother in 2019, my brother passed away, right? And he took his life, right? So it hit me really hard because, you know, like I was like, why didn't you guys tell me, right? Like why didn't you give me a warning that my brother was gonna do this?
Gotcha.
I mean,
Mhm.
but I realized that they had 9 months before. I had this dream where I woke up crying and I thought half the world had died. I thought because I had had visions of like this huge catastrophes happening on the earth, right? So I thought like, oh, here it comes. But I didn't even want to say nothing because I was like, I don't want to scare people. What's gonna happen is gonna happen. Like it was a natural disaster, so it wasn't like what am I gonna warn people? Like it is what it is, you know? And so in that dream, my brother was the only one there, right? And I woke up and I turned too, so he wouldn't see me crying. But when I woke up, that's the only time in my life tears were all down my face. My whole face was covered in tears. So I thought half the world had died. You know, later on it was like half my world had died, right? Because it was like my brother, like you know, that I cared about. Like so, after he passed away, a voice told me I was on Facebook because he was in the military for over 20 years, right? So that's what it was like. They were like, oh, the PTSD, whatever.
Oh
Boom,
yeah.
life, right? You know, he had been deployed 3 times, so during the Iraq War and all that stuff, right? So whatever. And then after so I was on Facebook, all his military friends were reaching out to me like, hey, what happened? We just heard about it. And a voice told me to message one of my friends. But I was like, no, like they didn't reach out to me and say my condolences. I'm not gonna say nothing. And they're like, if you don't message him, you're gonna regret it. And I was like, you know, like damn you, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let me. And then I was like, hey, how you doing? And he didn't even say nothing in the message, but I just knew, hey, I'm gonna go see you. He lived a couple miles away. I was like, I'm gonna go to you. I get there and they're like, oh, I think God or an angel sent you. So I knew they were going through what my brother was going through. I saw him, I had some sage with me, so I like smudged them off, and I was like, whatever, cleaning out his energy, all that good stuff. But then as soon as that, I looked up at the sky and I was like, oh hell no. Like you let me now it's guaranteed 100% confirmed. You do send me to help people and this and that. You didn't send me to help my own brother. Like, damn you. Like, so I felt like tearing the heavens
Yeah.
apart, right? Like screw that. So then I went to a dark place and I was like, I'm gonna take my own life, right? Like screw you guys, right? Because it was like that, like he had a family, he had this, that, all this stuff. So I was like, it didn't make sense to me. So then that night, these beings visited me, and I knew they were like Pleiadians, right? And they showed me how we had already agreed upon this. Like this was part of like you guys agreed on this, and they showed me, and I wrote a whole book about it. I was able to transfer like the proof, right? Like the proof that it was pre-planned, whatever. And even that, after they visited me, my heart I've never felt love like that in my life. Like it was like for 2 months I had that energy. I couldn't shake it. I wanted to go with them. I wanted to go. I didn't want to be here. Yeah, yeah. I didn't want to be here no more. And I had to shake it off. Like, all right, fine. I still got things to do. Fine, I'll
Yeah.
stick around. Even after during the pandemic, they visited me again and they were like, you want to go? And I said yes. And they were like, oh, I heard them say, oh, like they didn't expect me to say that I wanted to go. And they're like, but I guess because a spacecraft came, it was like a spacecraft came, and then they were like, "You want to go?" And no one else could see them. I was telling everybody, "You don't see them," and they're like, "No, no, what?"
Nope.
I've had so many visions like that where nobody could see. Now I'm like, dude, they're right there, and there's a war going on, all this stuff. I'm like, look, look, look. There's freaking. Yeah. Go ahead, go ahead. You were gonna say something?
I was gonna say, when the Bible talks about the rapture, it's very possible that a number of us could just be, okay, we did our work here and it's time to go.
Mm.
And it's not like, oh my God, we're like, we know, like, no, we're going home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So how do you? Because I always had. Because see, I heard this one preacher talking about how like that was a mistranslation, the whole rapture thing, and so to me, I was always like, see how you said the translating it from the Greek and whatever. After I read it myself, I found this old man on the TV, and that's all he would do. He would sit in front of a table and just read it, and he would break down what every word meant, like in the Hebrew and the Greek and this and that. So I was like, every morning before work, I worked this job almost like a graveyard shift. I would watch him like 2 hours, something like that, for years and years. He finally passed away, this old man. But that's it. He was like this old man. He had been a Marine. Everything was just like almost like a robot, right? Like I'm just reading the word, translating it for what it is. Like no sugarcoating, no theatrics, right? We're not over here dancing. And I know that brings up people's spirit, right? But it wasn't like I didn't want that at the time. I was like, just give me, I want the knowledge. Don't give me all this song. And that's why I didn't like going to the churches, because it was like sometimes they'd have like it seemed like $100,000, $200,000 sound system, and it'd be like an episode of American Idol. So I'm like, what is this? Like that's not what I came
Maybe
for.
using auto tune at churches now too.
No, no way.
Sorry, I had to throw that in.
Wow, I had it. No, no, that's funny because I haven't been in so long. You know what I mean? But yeah, yeah. So he was very against that. He's all, it's a mistranslation. Doesn't even talk. And he's all, why would you want to leave anyways? He's all, if we're here, like we were put here for a reason. Like, if we're here for war, like then we're here for like to fight for like that, like kind of the good fight. In other
Yeah.
words. So I took to that. I was like, oh, okay, it makes sense. Yeah, like we're not here to like run away. We're here to do what we need to do, and then when it's time, go. So how do you feel about the rapture? Do you feel it is a thing that's coming, or?
Well, now that like, I mean, it's like a story. It was my nightmare as a kid. Like this, I used to be so scared. If my mom was missing or anybody else, I was like, oh my God, I'm gone. For whatever reason, I felt like I was like gonna be left in the rapture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like the boogeyman for me.
Wow.
And so obviously growing up, I'm like, I don't resonate with that fear at all. But now as things are starting to, we're developing more knowledge and things are becoming more clear, and we know who we are, and that could possibly have been some, an allegoric way to explain what is going to be taking place with a number of us.
That makes sense. No, and I had another vision too while I was literally awake, and I just saw myself getting into a spaceship and deuces, like you said. Like,
Yeah, and you can feel it. It's like I literally last week, what you're talking about right now, I felt that entire like thing, like as if I was going to be leaving on this spaceship, and it was, and I'm telling you, there's no fear. It's like we out, like we've been waiting for this. You know what I mean?
yeah.
But we're
Wow.
still here. We still got things to do.
For a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, for a little bit. You're right. You're right. A little bit.
No, well, I mean, that's kind of because I started having, within the last starting like from the pandemic this way, all this stuff and just all the stuff. It's like I feel like I really thought that like the fact that the pandemic was like 2020, right? So I thought like obviously 2020 vision, like you can see everything, like almost all the things that they had been keeping secrets were exposed. So it was a choice, like people could choose to wake up or still stay asleep. And it's like
Yeah.
people got more like asleep, so to speak. People allowed to be themselves to be even led more like off the cliff, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've even had like when you talked about different realities, like I've seen that. I've seen different realities, and it's weird. It's almost like your body jumps into that, and you're like, "Where the hell am I?" And then you see everything, and then boom, jump into another reality, and then it's like, "What the hell?" And when I've woken up from those things, I'm exhausted. Like it just feels like, dude, that was not no freaking dream. You know what I mean? This was
Your
really
body's
happening.
been traveling.
Yeah, exactly. You had those experiences or?
I exist multidimensionally. So as I like on a daily, I'm like jumping through portals, but I don't have this physical awareness of it. It just comes out in my results and what I do in life.
Interesting. No, because I'm always waiting for you to say more, but you're like to the point, just like bloop bloop. So
Sorry.
no, you're good. You're good.
That's what it is.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. It's funny because that's how the spirit world talks to me. They're very to the point. Like, yeah, like, because, all these things always start happening. Well, let me talk about the multi-dimensional thing. That's after my brother passed. That's when it first hit me. I was in the shower and it was like, I saw like, boom, let's say like 50 realities at once in my head. And I dropped to my face and I started praying. I was like, take it away. Cause it was like too much. It was like, am I about to go like
Overload.
nuts? Yeah, overload. And it was like, brrr, like if you just saw 50 TVs in your head. And I was, always in the shower. So I was that. And then it lasted over a minute and then it finally went away. But then it came to me a lot in dreams, right? Like in dreams is where it happens a lot, right? And so yeah, I've seen all that, like the alt. And it's funny though, because even after he passed away, they showed me a reality. See, like growing up, right? I was more like the thug life one, and since he had gone to the military right out of high school, he like if we would go out and he'd be like, "Hey, calm down," or like don't be starting shit or something like that, right? And I had in one vision, it was like he was the one. And I was like, hey, like, calm down, like this and that. Then I had another one where he was like this chubby construction worker and he had his scruffy beard. And I was looking at him through like a window as he got
So you
home.
guys have been in multiple lives together.
Yeah, I believe so. Or at the moment, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. Or it was like simultaneously to this reality. Like it's happening now. It's like.
Oh, it's like parallel realities.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But it could be that as well, right?
All of it, because I mean, the dimensions get so intricate in this universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I even thought that, like, what if, because on this spaceship, it was weird. Because when I saw myself in the spaceship, it was almost like I was sticking up for humanity. Like, that's why when you said that, probably I got all the chills when they told you, "Oh no, you're going." And you were like, I don't want to go." I actually had one where it was like that. I think I probably don't say it because I don't want people to think like, "Oh, this guy has an ego or something." But it was like I had a crown. I was wearing a crown and I threw it. I was like, I don't want this like stupid thing. And it was something about like humanity. And I even thought was this because there's even stories about like, well, go ahead. You were gonna say something.
No. That story, it hits. I don't get ego from it at all. I get because I resonate with that. To me, that's very Pleiadian like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, when they came to me, right? Like there was the one that kept coming to me. Like the first time she appeared, she was in our regular, like a human body, right? but she was dressed almost like a military, like she was someone with authority. And she took me to where my brother was, and she was like she just gave me a nod, like, go ahead. And I went to talk to him, and I room, and then boom, I came to. Then the other one, that's when they appeared to me in like their actual Pleiadian bodies, right? And I went through a portal. So in that vision, I went through a portal. I appeared where they were, and it's this place that's known for paranormal stuff. And I had never even heard of this place at this point in this life, right? And they were huge. But the one that came to me, it was the woman again, and she was even wearing a crown, right? So after, like every time I talked about her after that, I would call her my star wife, right? Like I was like, oh, my star, I was like
I
I
love it.
claimed her. I was like, whether she likes it or not, I was like, that's my star wife. And she had the authority, right? Like there were like I think 3 males with her, but it was like she was the one, she had the crown, and she came up to me. I mean, years later, that's when I saw myself with the crown. So I was like, what if like in this other reality or something that, here I'm playing around, but what if that is like my star wife, right? Or something like that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting. So when have you seen them, right? Like the Pleiadians or
I have not physically seen them. No, I feel them. I'm highly. I mean, we all have clairvoyant abilities, but I'm highly clairsentient. So
oh.
most of my ability lies in feeling.
Mm. Okay. So let's go. I mean, I know we went all the way this way, but let me go back to, because that's my main like I work in the entertainment industry too, right? So I've been around stuff and felt energies where it's just like I remember being at a place and I felt nasty, and then I noticed this girl was like, she looked weird. I was like, what happened? And she's like, I don't know, I feel nasty. I was like, what? Like the energy, right? And she's like, yeah. And then this guy from the crew on set, he just walks by. He's like, man, isn't it crazy that this was a slaughterhouse? And I was like, oh my God, I'm feeling all that. And it even clicked. Like, why in the hell are we filming this in a freaking slaughterhouse, right? And I worked there. Yeah, yeah. I was like, and we worked there in multiple. I worked there for 21 Pilots, that group.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I worked in a music video there. I worked for the show SWAT there. I worked for like they've used this place to film a lot. It's actually a whole studio, like it's not like one of the big studios, but it's like this one it's somewhere in downtown LA. I forgot what it's called, but it used to be a slaughterhouse. And like, why the hell do you use that to film stuff in? It's creepy, right? So the energy. So have you experienced any of that where you've just been on places and like, cause like being are you still a makeup artist or?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I predominantly do right now for work.
Oh, okay.
But absolutely, one in particular, I was at a Grammy after party, Atlantic Grammy after party in 2017, and just being in there, like I just remember like going in the corner and just clamming up. Where normally I vibrant personality and talking to people, but I was just like something closed off. And I had a publicist at the time. He introduced me to a couple people, and next thing you know, he's pulling up Will I Am, and I'm like, oh shit, Will I Am, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I look at him, he looks at me, and my first thought, like, I was excited, but as soon as we just kind of met, there was this blockage of energy. And my first thought was, this is a clone. It was a soulless being. So he did like a robot. He took a photo with me. He nodded, and then turned. And I was like, that was the weirdest thing. You know what I mean? And then, and in retrospect too, because when I was in New York during that time, my vibration was so low that I wasn't really, you know what I mean? Which is why I got caught up in places and things. But of course, it was part of the journey. Like just a lot of soulless, just even in simple exchanges and interactions. You know what I mean? Where it could be the simplest exchange between you and somebody, and they take your energy, even if it's like someone, oh hey, can I pour a little drink of that or something, and then you just feel as if there is no exchange, and they just took from you. You know what I mean? So a lot of that happens because when people in the industry, they sell their soul, they're no longer tapped into source. So they have to utilize those of us that are connected to source to draw from.
And how do you, because it was funny that you mentioned that, because like I have this thing, right? And like something about contracts, right? Because even with the music, right? Like I never like I always, now it makes sense, right? I'm thankful now, but when I was, that was my thing, right? I wanted to be the next big artist kind of thing, or I don't know if I really wanted to be, but I was good at it, right? Like in my time,
You rap or sing?
rap and sing, like I was, yeah.
Okay.
So, but not a good singer. Like I would sing, but I would, like all my singers, I would write for them. Like there's probably been maybe 3 songs. I've probably released over 200 something songs, but maybe like 3 or 4 of them, the singer actually wrote what they sang. But because I had an experience once when I started, and I had a friend that sang, and I was like, here, like, write your stuff. And they had 2 weeks before we went to the studio, and we went to the studio, and I was paying. So they didn't have nothing written, and I'm like, oh my God. So I had to write on the spot, and then I was like, I'm never gonna let that happen again, like on my dime, right? So I would always have already the lyrics, like for male or female, right? Anything they sang, like I would write it. But of course, right, I started with like more of gangster rap, whatever, and then they started inviting me to perform at the church. And it was funny though, because see, it was like they welcomed me, but at the same time, they always made it clear, like, oh, this is Omar. He's a secular artist, but he has a lot of like, so it was so funny to have that, like, oh yeah, he has this like songs that are very God, like they have, you could tell, right? They have the spirit in them, but he's a secular artist. But like he's gonna
Disclose that.
yeah, we just gotta let you know. But it's funny because even the preacher that first started inviting me, he heard a song of mine with a lot of bad words, and he was like, oh, I liked it a lot. Because you could tell, see, he was almost, I think he grew up in the Victory Outreach thing too, right? So he had been hardcore gangster, and then turned Victory. So he got that music still spoke to him, right? Like he heard it. He's like, but do you have anything without bad words? And I was like, and then I was like, oh yeah, let me start. Like I have a ton of songs, I just haven't recorded them, this and that. So boom, boom, boom. I've written over 1,000 songs in my time, like no exaggeration. Like
Wow.
sometimes I would write 10 songs a day, right? But it was that. Sometimes I wouldn't even know where they came from. But the same, right? I tapped into the darkness too, right? Like there were times when the emotions, right? Like all the time I probably wrote 5 songs that I really regretted, right? That were just like as violent as it gets, like violent, like, thug life kind of songs, right? That after I felt the spirit of them, I felt like, damn, where was I when I wrote, like what was going on with, and I know there was a lot of anger, rage, all that stuff growing up around street stuff, right? But I forgot, why did I even bring all that up? I don't even know.
We were talking about shoot. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought too.
Yeah, see, yeah, it's fine. We don't have, well, man. Okay, so I know you've talked about like you're very aware of the frequencies and everything, right? So that I was like, oh wow, let me like, because I don't even know about all that, like to the degree that you do, right? About how they even started infusing the music with, like, they changed the hertz and all that stuff. So if you don't mind sharing for anyone that's not aware about that.
Yeah, well, I started studying quantum physics years ago, and understanding that it's the study of small particles that comprise the universe, all this matter that we see, and then it led me into the journey, realizing that the frequency of music is correlated to our lives, how in tune we are, how we manifest, and all those things. And first and foremost, people need to understand, because a lot of people, when I come against, speak against music industry, oh, well, it's just entertainment. That's what they've said a lot. Thing is, the word entertainment is derived from the word entrainment, which means to train one's brain waves to a desired frequency.
Wow.
And so that frequency is now projected from you in your circumference, your electromagnetic field. And this is the reality that you control and create. There's also a consensus, a collective reality that we all are a part of, which is why they have shows and news and things like that, so that they all brainwash us to, create that consensus reality. And then that led me to understand that, okay, it led me to the information about the Rockefeller Foundation changing the frequency, or creating the uniform frequency, or establishing uniform frequency to 440. Prior to that, people mostly played in 432 hertz, but actually people played in different frequencies. So Beethoven, Bach, all them, they had their own, whatever they were feeling. But the Rockefeller Foundation established this uniform Nazi frequency because they brought over the Nazi scientists that started doing all that, you know, and then that frequency is also mathematically out of balance. So if we look at that, you know, it's just it causes dissonance, and which is, you know, a lot of the mental illness that people are experiencing, all the anxiety, depression, that's part of it too.
Yeah, like it's tied in because the music it's crazy because it sounds good sometimes, right? Like you hear it, all that trap beats and boom, boom, very like, but it doesn't always, before when I would listen to it, I would get bad vibes from it. But now it's kind of like, I don't know if you just get used to hearing it to where you can't even catch that.
Yeah, you become desensitized, absolutely. And then you become addicted to it. It's like it's what you need. It's like somebody just eating McDonald's all the time. They become accustomed to it, and then next thing you know, they're fed something else of you know, nutritional substance, and they're like, oh, I don't like that.
Yeah, and it's crazy because just because you reminded me of a funny story with McDonald's. Once I remember I went, you know, I used to help a friend, like he would install, he had like an account with McDonald's, right? Installing security systems. He had like 75 McDonald's. So usually it was just like me and him, or sometimes we'd have another helper. And so, you know, they would always give us free McDonald's, right? But I didn't eat it because I didn't like McDonald's, right? It would always mess up my stomach. And then, so one day they gave us something and I forgot it in my car. And it had been there for like 2 weeks and nothing happened to it. This whole thing was like, not even the ants. Like I had less stuff in my car where the ants crawled in and they were all up in my car. And I was like, dude, not even ants wanted to creep up and eat this McDonald's stuff.
Word.
Yeah. And I was like, dude, it's been there for 2 weeks. Like, wow, that's how bad this stuff is, you know? Like, how does food survive 2 weeks and not like go rotten?
Right. Yeah. I know I definitely wanted to cover the forgiveness, mercy, and grace stuff. Right now.
Yeah, because I just don't want to be talking, like I already feel like, damn, I talked more in this interview than you. So I'm just like, I almost want to cut out like all the stuff of me talking.
Really? But I think what you're saying is pertinent. You know what I mean? Like the entire conversation is what it's meant to be. It's not just about me either. It's now you're coming into play. Like all of us Pleiadians, we're coming together. It seems. You know what I mean? So it's about us and what we're doing as a whole. So let's talk about forward movement. You know what I mean? This is what I want to talk about for sure, because part of my mission is to eradicate poverty, sickness, and disease from the planet. And that is, you know, in the Bible, you know, growing up in church, we're taught, you know, money is the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, yeah, when you are so tied to it and it becomes your God and you worship it. The thing is, we need to remove that guilt, that shame, and we need to start manifesting money, right? Even like that, it's about to happen soon. The Bible even talks about the wealth of the wicked being transferred to the just. That transfer is about to take place. But we all need to understand, to have this foundation of what money is. That money, you ever heard Kanye say money isn't real?
Who, Kanye?
Kanye, yes.
He said that?
Yes.
Oh, well, I never heard him say it, but I mean, I agree, definitely.
Yes. Well, first and foremost, a gogol is the last name agreed upon by world leaders for an integer. So after a gogol, there's nothing else. How do we not have a...
Is that a currency? What is that?
That's a gogol is the last name for an integer. So you have like, you go up to millions, but the gogol is the last name for an integer that has been agreed upon by world leaders. So there's nothing after a gogol, right? So I study vortex-based mathematics, which this mathematics is, it teaches us the Fibonacci sequence. It also teaches us that there's no larger number in the universe than 9, essentially. After 9, we get a 1 and a 0, right? So, and then also to simplify, in vortex-based mathematics, 1 + 1 = 3. Because you take 2 humans, you procreate, you produce a third. This is the true mathematics of the universe, which allows us to flow in the spirit numbers, which Tesla used for his coil 369. And so if we apply that mentally, formulate it, use this as our foundation, then now we can build on top of that. And so I like to I love Bob Proctor's affirmation. I'm so happy and grateful now that money comes to me in increasing quantities through multiple sources on a continuous basis. So if you know that, you understand that, you allow it to flow to you. And it's not necessarily about stacking dollars, because stacking is common core, which is what we want to get rid of, but tapping into abundant flow. So rather than building generational wealth, we want to tap into abundant flow, because generational wealth can be squandered. You know what I mean? Where your child can step into a vibration, where I've seen it a lot. Kids come from very well-to-do families where they don't end up taking on that vibration. And I've seen kids that come from well families end up on crack on Skid Row. So it's abundant flow. So you have these parents that work so hard. I'm building generational wealth to take care of my family, and they're not actually imparting spiritually into their children, and then that wealth is squandered. So it's pointless. So the point is to always flow, to tap into that, to know that you are never without, that you are never lacking, and to continuously receive. And this is my issue, as like, we're all, even people within Christianity, everybody, even within all religions, people of the Most High are coming together, right? But the problem with Christianity, I'm going to say right now, is because of certain formulas in the Bible and the way the religion was structured. Yeah, you reap blessings and you feel good and you get peace. You go to church, you tithe, you get, but there's a certain blockage, because that was created by the Vatican Church so they could continue this control to keep the money value system going.
And what's that block?
The talk, like emphasizing that the love of money is the root of all evil, that you are not going to be blessed if you don't tithe, that, you know what I mean? All of these things. And, to just it's restriction, and yeah, it's kind of like being a sugar baby, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, you get all these perks and you get to get paid for and feel good, but then they're like, if you want to branch out on your own, you can't, then you're stuck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to break that down, sorry, really quickly, for some people,
no, please,
it's not about being tied to a deity, because we are all that source. We all have that God particle within us. And this is the journey back to source. The problem is, and even with Christ, people created a deity when even Christ said, you will do greater things than I. And even him going around healing people, and people are like, oh, Jesus healed people. No, there was one common denominator. And Jesus would always say, whenever someone was healed and they would come back with gratitude, that's cool, that's nice. He would say, but it is your faith that has made you whole. So it's now about teaching people to be introspective. And this is why neutralizing the frequency of music out here, transitioning to 432 hertz will create a neutral space for people to be able to relax, meditate, be introspective, and do the healing and inner work that they need to do for themselves, because they have the power within them as well.
And so so just the 2 little hertz changing it, that would change the frequency? Like, so that was
well, I'm sorry, what do you mean as far as?
Because like how you said, the one that they put in was the 440, which is like the negative one, like, a lower vibration then, right?
Yeah.
And that's all they changed, was like they just changed 2 hertz, and that caused that whole change, or?
Yeah, it's like out of tune. You know what I mean? It's like cooking. You put a little extra salt in your soup, it's going to be too salty and it's no good. You know what I mean? There's balance to the universe. There's order to the universe. There's mathematical formulas. There's symmetry in our faces, which create beauty. We have lines, we have shapes, all these things. So we have to understand that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's funny, like when you mentioned the Fibonacci sequence, like that's what happened. Like after my brother passed, they showed me this code, right? I guess it was just to show that this is all a creation, right? Like without like undying, like proof, right? Like it's just like all the proof anyone would ever need to see that this is like created, right? Like there is a creator, right? And it was weird. Like I got it one way, and then after I wrote the book, I found that this man had gotten it in another way, but I explained it more like in layman's terms, right? Like to the average person. He got it mathematically. Like, yeah, if you talk to me mathematics, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to try to put it together. But, that's like my weakest thing, right? Like the mathematics. I even failed it like 3 times in college, and then they started a thing because there was a lot of people like me. I got A's in everything, but math, I failed like 3 times. So there was a class where there were people just like me, like the same. Math was something weird. And then they started like a statistics math. So that's what I had to do. I had to do like 2 semesters of the statistics math. I passed that. And then I went on. But anyways, so this man, he got it mathematically, like this formula. I even tried to interview him. He never reached out to me. I tried to get a hold of him on Facebook, email, YouTube, everywhere. Like, cause I was like, wow. So this guy was given the same thing I was given, and he explained the whole Fibonacci sequence and all this and that. So this code was even embedded into that, where this sequence was like in every flower and every single thing in life. You know, people know about that whole sacred geometry stuff, but that's the first time I heard of it, because they brought it to me through, like the Pleiadians or whoever, they were showing me, and I just started seeing it everywhere. Like, okay, well, I'm gonna tell you this. It's weird because everything that has this code, there's something in the background, right? Like,
No, not anymore.
it's just this stupid echo then, but it's on my end. It's not on your end, so it's fine.
Okay.
But anyways, so it's weird because this code that they showed to me was in everything, right? Like even the pyramid that I went to, the sun pyramid, right? It's 216, right? 216 feet high and 66 meters. It's 66 meters, 216, right? So that's how it all started, because that's the day my brother took his life, 216, right? So 216. It was weird. It was like they showed me how everything. So first they showed me, like, I thought it was real simple. It was like a graduation. Because what happened was they showed me stuff in the dream, and I woke up. When I woke up, I knew. I was like, what? No way in hell. So exactly 12 years before my brother passed, I had gone to the military too. And the day I graduated, it's on a picture, it was 216, but 12 years before. So I was like, what? I know the clock goes up to 12 and it repeats. The months go up to 12 and they repeat. We go from first grade through 12th grade, and then it's higher learning. So I was like, what are they showing me? Just that my brother graduated, because I graduated in the military. He passed on that day. Then less than a month later, Nipsey Hussle got murdered. And I always felt like I was channeling. I was like, I never listened to Nipsey Hussle's music. At that point, I was already past like the gang banging stuff. Like that's pretty much, but I saw interviews and I was like, wow, this guy was very knowledgeable. Maybe they just wanted me to tap into like the stuff he was talking about. Because, he was about that, a building, right? Like buying a whole part section and building businesses and all this stuff, going from like the negative stuff, turning it into something positive. But then come to find out, like, so I was like, I'm going to download one of his songs. I go, and out of all things, the last album he released before he got murdered was released on 216. I was like, shut the hell up. And it was called Victory Lap. So it was like, dude, I graduated. My brother graduated. Nipsey Hussle's Victory Lap. So I was like, what? So that's how the code began. I was like, what is this, right? But then it got, because they just kept showing, even they showed me the pandemic. I had worked on a show in 2017, and the episode ended up being episode 216, season 2, episode 16. It was about a pandemic. There's an outbreak. Everyone gets quarantined, all the stuff, and this was what, like 3 years before the pandemic. So it was like, what? Like they were showing me things already, a code. So even in my life, and then even that the pyramid I had gone to as a kid, not only was 216 feet high, but when you look at it, like it was 66 meters and 216. My brother was born on 6/6, which the 66 meter, and he passed on 216. It was almost like his whole birth date and death date were in this pyramid.
My mom was born on 6/6 too.
Your mom's what?
My mom was born on 6/6 too.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow. When's your birthday?
April 5th.
Oh, April 5th. That's funny.
Aries.
Yeah. No. That's Aries are. I haven't interacted with a lot of Aries, but they're very tapped in too. I'm realizing, like they're very tapped in. So
Watch out, an unevolved Aries, watch out for.
oh yeah. No, I think, well, I just see that they're very go, right? Like I've seen, so you're the same. Yeah. But and that, like when I've noticed, like I had an Aries once, that's what they were telling me. They were like, I guess they were like psychic or something. And they were like, no, I feel like man, you are supposed to something. I was like, I'm sorry, like I don't see it. You know what I mean? I don't feel it. I don't see it. But to them, they were stubborn on that. Like, no, it is because I said it. I
Yes.
don't, sorry. Like,
When an Aries knows, they know. That's the thing. I always say I leave a margin of error. You know what I mean? But if I know, I know. I will not leave that margin of error.
but,
But sorry, go
but,
ahead.
no, you go ahead, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say with the birthday things too, there's all connections, you know what I mean? The numbers, the dates and things. So like even with us, there's some kind of connection there.
No, absolutely. No, it's meaningful to me. It's meaningful to me. I won't get into the whole because it's another long story. But the fact that you said that date out of all dates, it was like a huge synchronicity to me right now. When you said April 5th, out of all things, I'm
Oh,
already like,
really?
yeah. You just like, you just hit
Oh,
like
shoot.
a huge synchronicity of something that just happened this week. Like, so I'm like,
Ooh, a past life memory I do have. 'Cause I was actually supposed to be born on the 4th, but when I was going in, my mom was going into labor with me. She was like, "Let me watch Miami Vice first." So they let her watch Miami Vice, and I was born at 12:06 a.m. on the 5th. But I come across a lot of people that are born on the 4th for some reason. But one person in particular, his name was Chocolate Armenteros, was a Cuban trumpet player. They called him the Cuban Louis Armstrong,
mm,
and I know for sure I lived in a past life with him because I did his very last gig in Spanish Harlem before he passed away, and I was on stage, and he just like he was like a little lit, you know what I mean? Because he liked to enjoy his time. So he just came on like he saw me and it just was like he wasn't even supposed to come. Well, he was supposed to come on stage at the time, but he just like he didn't even play. It was like we just danced. We were
mm,
just like literally vibing, you know what I mean? And then over like the course of time and him passing away, like memories just started to flood in, you know? And then there was like a story that I was told where, he was like, he pawned off Dizzy Gillespie's trumpet to go get cocaine. And then like all those stories, like I was like, oh my gosh,
wow.
you know? But this Aries man that I got to share the stage with him for the very last time. I was like, this was my buddy in a past life.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. My birthday is 6/9, June 9th. So that's another reason like why I was so connected to my brother. Like it makes sense why everything was the way it was because even when we were little, right? Not having a lot of money, like our parents will they'll celebrate, they'll buy us one cake and it'll be like half was his and half was mine. Like, we were a few years apart, right? But it was like we would have one cake and on this side it was happy, whatever birthday to him, happy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So it was like, like someone that you're close, even though like growing up, like we didn't have a good relationship, like after, you know what I mean? Like once he matured, like it changed. I don't know why I just said that. How do you get along with your mom? Do you get along pretty good with your mom?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, we run a business together. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, we both do hair and makeup in for the ballroom dance circuit. And my
Mm.
mom also competes in so that's her world. But yeah, we're on the road together all the time.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah, and
amazing.
she's actually my whole family except my father. He's in the Philippines. He's being he's he's healing. He's in quarantine right now. The universe put him in quarantine. But my mom, my brother, and my sister, they all also resonate with their cosmic origins. My mother is Andromedan. My brother is Arcturian, and my sister, we're discovering, is Lyran as she is waking up. She is one of the eldest souls, and we feel like she's got like we call her Kugel because she's got like all this information and knowledge. Like it's like, where do you get all this information from? So we think that as she becomes more activated, that she is some kind of librarian to the Akashic records.
Oh, wow. See, and that's since you mentioned the Akashic record, right now too, when we were talking, like it clicked, almost like I heard like that's how this interview was supposed to. It was just supposed to flow organic. Because in the beginning, I kept trying to like, wait, let,
Yeah.
let me try to keep it structured or whatever, so we don't go all over the place. But I get it now that's we were supposed to just talk. Because yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like especially that when you mentioned the Pleiadians, I was like, oh shit, we know each other, then we have to like,
for sure.
yeah,
And we're both kind of ADD, so like it's okay. Like we're all
ah,
over the place, but we're bringing it in.
absolutely. But see the caution, that's what happened when it took over 4 years from the day my brother passed. Oh yeah, this month is the anniversary of me writing the book, right? So, and it doesn't stop. The information keeps coming, right? Oh, but that's what I was gonna tell you. So, well, let me go back to see. Damn. Okay, let me go back to that thing. So that's what happened. Is like in one vision, I was in like it looked like the Akashic records, right? A library that never ends, and we had like hundreds of books all over the floor. And it was like we were getting all this information and piecing it together, and it made sense. It was like the book had to be written now in this time. 20 years ago, I couldn't do that. I couldn't put all this information and people could verify. They could go to Google and, that's what it would take. They would have had like 100 books all over the floor. Like, oh, look at here. Like I was able to connect that number to ancient Greece, the Aztec pyramid, the moon. Even the moon is like 2160 miles. It's off like by less than a mile. But it's like, okay, did they really go up there with a measuring tape and measure it? So the fact that it's like, even everything we see right now, like the TV right now, the standard is like 4K, and it's like something by 2160. So there's that 216 again. Like that's the resolution of 4K right now. So this number was just this is where it got freaky though, but I think it's more of a warning. One day I was cleaning and I think I was listening to music. All of a sudden, some guy's talking about and he said 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. So I was like, hold up, what is that? Was after a year that I had already been seeing 666. So I mean 216. So I was like, wait a second, 6 times 6 times 6 is 216. What the hell is that about? But then he showed that these little chips that they could already implant in people were model number and tag 216. So I was like, shut the hell. So I felt like it was a warning. See, like they showed me the warning of the pandemic. They showed me the warning, like, yeah, this is going to happen. These bastards are really going to try to be chipping everybody. You know what I mean? And out of all things, model number 216, I was like, so that's like the mark of the beast, right? 666, 2 times 6 times 6 times 6, 216. And that these little things, and even it was crazy. It was like the amount. Oh man, the synchronicities get insane, right? Like that morning before, like I went for a hike when my brother passed away. I didn't know he had passed yet, right? I went for a hike in the morning, and on my way home, I stopped to take a picture. This building had an 888, right? And it was the address 888, but they had it all big. And when you stand at an angle, it just looks like 18. And I took a picture of it both ways, and then I put, not everything is as it seems, right? I put that, not everything, and I uploaded it to IG. And then boom, later on I found out my brother passed. When they said the model that the little chips are NTAG 216, out of all things, they hold 888 like megabytes or kilobytes, whatever. So I was like, what? And it took me all the way back 40, or not 4 years, but like when that happened, on the day that my brother passed away on 216, I took a picture of the 888, and then come to find out like a year later that these little chips that they're gonna put in people have 888, like as the amount of information. So just the synchronicities got so weird that it was like, oh, okay, like it's all like just perfectly real. I don't know, I didn't lose you, right? Like you
the line,
yeah, just crazy. It's like crazy how everything matched up. So even that, I feel like they were just showing me. It's almost been a guide for me. Like it is tied into like premonition of events that are coming or all this stuff. Like this number was that significant, because how could I ever forget that number when it was like the day my brother passed? Like what I considered the worst day of my life, right? I was never. So it would make sense that out of all things, and when they showed me, we had agreed on it. So on the big scale, on a universal scale, that's why we agreed on that day, because then all these things were going to come from that day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Why do you think you guys agreed upon that? And like, why was his death, a part of what was going to take place after?
To, I guess, bring the knowledge, right? Bring the awareness. It's all about that. Like,
To you, you're saying.
oh yeah, but then I don't shut up. Like when I want to say something, like I feel it's like you really can't shut me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because he left so that he could work in spiritual realm to, so that you guys could,
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something I've never told anyone. I don't know why. I never wanted to tell anyone that, but I'll tell you. So when I went to visit him, it was almost like he was getting ready for a war in the spirit world.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I knew. And after, yeah, I started getting attacked. I've gone through these last years since after he passed away. Even my other brother that's not spiritual at all, like him and his wife had a dream that they said it was almost like I was walking in a bubble, and everything was trying to attack. The creepiest demons you ever seen in your, everything was coming at me, but I was protected. So, I never
Yeah.
wanted to share that either, just because I knew I was being attacked. So even when I do this podcast, sometimes I post something and boom, instantly I feel the energy. And it's like, all right, whatever. I've been through this song and dance before. So whatever, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely destined in the same way that a sacrifice is necessary for people to do what they do in Hollywood and all that. On the positive side, that is the same, it's a similar thing that takes place. So you're assisted, and you know what I mean? There's just more help.
Absolutely. And he even came, I mean, look at the story of Jesus. Like, there's even this book after, right? Like, they even say that one of the stories that they switched was that Judas knew that he knew this was his responsibility. That it wasn't like, oh, he betrayed Jesus. They agreed. They knew.
Yeah, which is really, I mean, at the end of the day, all of this is one big play.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's all meant for expansion. So that's why free will exists. That's why there's darkness, so that all of us who act as one can go off. And now it's this journey back to source. Because we as Pleiadian warriors, we wouldn't need to be here if there wasn't any darkness going on. You know what I mean? There wouldn't be anything to do.
Yeah.
We would just be balls of gas in space.
No, absolutely. So it makes sense. Yeah, I get it. Like, it's funny, right? Like, when we're here, like, we go through all this stuff, and it's like, and I get it, because even working, like that started. Go ahead. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I toggle between being in the simulation and feeling it, to like coming out, zooming out, and having that like higher perspective, like where you can see the maze. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm emotional, I'm feeling it today, to like, oh, okay, I'm just playing a video game. You know?
Absolutely. No, and that's what I've even told people about. That's why even when I was young, not that I had an ego, but like the way, like, I guess an Aries would say, I knew. Like, so even when I would hear preachers, because there's even this thing in the Bible where it says, like, who can like teach unless they've been sent, right? Or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. What is the exact words? I don't know.
There's the scripture that says every man ought not to teach one another. The Holy Spirit will teach every one man himself. I don't know what scripture are you talking about.
All right, it says something about who can teach unless they've been sent, like almost like you. I almost want to Google it real quick. Something about like you got.
I think, okay, yeah. Google it, because I want to know. I want to know the reference too.
Let me see. They have been sent. Maybe it's in the. Let me see Bible. And maybe it's in the New Testament. Oh, Romans 10:15. And how can anyone preach unless they are sent?
Okay, yeah.
As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Oh, okay. Okay, so I better start bringing good news. No, but
it is a calling,
yeah. So even that, I had that, like, cause that, right? I would have premonitions, and to me, that's what it would be. It was like, even the pandemic. I wrote a song called "Last Days," right? And even in that song, that's what happened. I had a dream, and that's how the premonitions would always happen. Something would happen immediately that I'd be like, oh, and then there was a bigger part to the dream that hadn't came, right? That it was like some crazy world thing, right? And in that dream, I remember it was weird. I got to this lady's house. I was taking like this adult class where it was like I was trying to learn Chinese, right? Mandarin. I ended up taking like 4 semesters, but that was the first time. And the lady that sat next to me, she was this Jewish lady, and she had gone. Her husband fixed helicopters. So he even fixed like Harrison Ford's helicopter, all this stuff. So they had gone to Germany to, I don't know whose helicopter they were fixing or what over there. But she was gone. And right, like when she left, I had a dream that I got to her house and I was asking her for her daughter. Like, hey, where's your daughter? How's your daughter? Something like that. Is she okay or something? And then after that, I went outside and the streets were empty. There was a doomsday clock, all this stuff, right? Just so many things. So I try to put that in a song, right? But it was crazy. When she came back, I was like, hey, I had the craziest dream about you. And I was young then, but I was already like, if I would say stuff, because it was a dream. You can't look at me like I'm crazy for having a dream.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, hey, I had this dream. I was asking you for your daughter. And she's all, my daughter, which one? I was like, I don't know. I didn't even know. Like, you had a daughter. So like, I was asking for your daughter. She's like, when did this happen? I was like 2 weeks ago, right when you left. And she's all, well, like 2 weeks ago, my daughter got in a huge wreck. I was like, oh wow. So then I knew it was real, right? Like, so they gave me the first part first and then the other part. So I wrote that song last day. Even in the song, I have this part where it goes, women being told what to do with their babies, and look at what just happened with the whole abortion thing. Like they passed that whole, so it was all about like the pandemic, because during the pandemic when they were like everyone stay home, I was like, I still would go hike. I was like, I don't give a like there's no one in nature, like you're not gonna tell me to stay, because even at the trails it would be blocked, like, oh, no hiking, no nothing. I was like, screw you, like I go under the fence and go on my hikes, like be in nature, right? And I'd be like the only one there, so it was cool. But then that's when it reminded me of the dream. All the streets were empty. Never in my life had I seen that aside from in that dream. And then I was like, holy crap, this is the dream I had like 10 years ago when I wrote like the song and everything. So why that?
Mm.
Why am I? Why did I even bring that up?
Here
I
we
don't know.
go again.
Yeah, yeah. Just about the warnings, I think it was about that. Like I was always trying to bring the messages like any way I could through songs or something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. About the like premonitions, right? So I would dream things, and that's how I described it. For me, because see, I know free will, and I don't like to teach this because it was just like for me, they showed me like I didn't have free will. Like I already planned my life. Like this is all, even when I would have premonitions and I tried not to make them happen, they would happen anyways, no matter how hard I tried. You know what I mean? Like, oh
Well,
shoot, like
I think the free will comes with choosing the life. You know what I mean? It's
mm,
like we the higher self has that free will, and we're here just playing it out.
you're right. Because even when they asked me if I wanted to leave, and I was like, yeah, and then after, I guess I decided to stay. You know what I mean? So I guess in a
And yeah, and there's still even free will here. Like you have the will to take your life if you want. You know what I mean? So it's very interesting.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely, absolutely. No,
but
it's
ultimately, death is not even real.
hmm,
Nobody ever dies. People have to understand that. You know.
yeah. Well, and see, and then it goes. See, that's where it gets weird for me, because like that, a lot of people that die and come back, like that's. But I don't want to preach, because it's almost like, did people agree to be the bad guys this time around? Like then it gets to that part of the play. Like, is it just part of the play? Someone chose to be this. Someone chose to be
Yeah, yeah. But the thing is, we already know how this plays out. You've had visions. I've had visions. We got 144,000 other people that, you know what I mean? Like, so we're we know how this plays out, but we're still feeling it. But just it's time to enjoy now. It's time to be happy. It's time to be lit. It's time to manifest money, and it's time to create heaven on earth.
mm, absolutely. And do you ever see that number, the 144?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I see that number all the time. But see, even nowadays with the whole spiritual thing, see, because I know I have that from reading the Bible with the 144. So I always correlated it to that, right? But there's a lot of people nowadays that are, oh, this is like something else, right? But to me, I do feel like that. But I didn't look at it like, oh, it was just 144,000 that were the chosen to like, they were gonna be the. I felt like those were the almost like that, like the warriors or chosen that were gonna come help
Yes,
teach. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. So I
And
think people.
we're all starting to realize that, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
that we are that. And it has nothing to do with ego. It has nothing to do with, like, people could easily look at us and peg us as narcissists, but it might seem similar, but no, it's a different vibration. You know what I mean? It's like, there's this confidence in knowing who we are, where we come from, you know. But the difference between us as empaths is that our intention is for the good of humanity, whereas a narcissist type individual, they have ill intentions and it's all for self.
Absolutely. Ah. No, I'm just happy. I'm happy to like. It feels. See, it does feel more like when you see someone you know, kind of thing, right? Like
Yeah, and we need to keep encouraging each other, because yeah, we don't want to be like, and we're in a society among humans and NPCs, you know what I mean? And it's very easy to feel alone,
mm,
but we are actually all coming together now.
absolutely. And so, are you still gonna continue doing music, or are you more just like focused on the business, or?
So yes, it's just shifting differently because I'm just not really resonating with the Luciferian superstar persona at all. That's not so. I'm shifting right now to more of like I'm bringing my sister in because my sister used to lead worship at our church. I would lead worship with her, and going back to creating music more for a collective setting rather than look at me, I'm this superstar. Like that's the whole Luciferian thing. You know what I mean? And I just don't want to do it anymore. I had a really good run last year where I got to do the show that I created with the songs that I have out, but that music is shifting. And I might put out some other solo stuff just for the fun of it, to use for content and everything, but not for this Luciferian idol thing.
Absolutely. What do you call it? Yeah, no, that makes well, you reminded me of something like just even that. Ah, man, I don't want to keep going into these long stories. What do you call it? Well, even one. Huh? Okay, so for example, one day I woke up like at midnight, and I think I fell asleep watching that show Friends or something, and then I was scrolling, and there was this cartoon. It was like a Disney cartoon, and it got my attention because it said Hamster and Gretel. You know, like the story Hansel and Gretel. Like I even auditioned once for like this voiceover role on that movie that came out, Hansel and Gretel, right? It was like the voice of these crows. So I auditioned for like the voice of the crow, and then after I didn't like they hit me up back, and I was like, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna land this, and then I didn't end up getting, and I was like, fine. But I think that's why it got my attention, right? So I was like, I saw the Hamster and Gretel. I clicked on it, and it was about UFOs. So I was like, oh, that's weird, like this little kids cartoon with UFOs.
Right.
But then, yeah, but then the little hamster. So it's Hamster and Gretel, like a little hamster and the little girl, and the little hamster's in this thing in a casino playing cards, right? And I caught it real quick. Like he put the cards down and he won, and I was like, "What?" And I rewinded it, and the cards literally said 666, and I was like, "What?" So I took a picture of it, and then when I took a picture, I even saw it said KKK 66, so King 666. After I went down I was like, "Hold up. This cartoon was #1 for ages 6 to 11. Why the hell are you putting 666? Well, first of all, it's already suspect that a little hamster's playing cards in a kid's cartoon, a Disney kid's cartoon. Why are you putting 666? See the subliminal stuff, right? So we know it is this ongoing war, right? I made a whole video about it and all that stuff because I was just mad. I was like, see, so that's why it's weird. In the spiritual community, they say, oh, well, 666 means like balance your thoughts. And I get it, right? Like numbers do have different things, but the way they use it, right? Somehow.
Yeah, it's a distortion, and they're taking and they're using it for their own. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. It just reminded me right now when I don't know what you said. Oh, the Luciferian thing, right?
Yeah.
How it is very they still push that, right? I mean, they and I think that's why like even when I started this podcast, it doesn't seem like I'm like I haven't seen like, oh, I'm gonna be able to make a living off of this or anything, but I would prefer like I would, because I've been doing the whole acting part for like 9 years, right? Like 9 years on and off. Like during COVID, I stopped because they were. Well, I could cut this part out because even I made 2 videos about like I don't know how you are about the whole shot thing and all that.
The whole what?
The shot, like the.
Oh, I'll talk about that if you are down.
Did you end up getting it or?
I did, and I'll tell you why.
Okay, tell me.
So because I was seeing so much, now mind you, I was in the hospital. I almost died at the beginning. Like before everything hit the news, I was in the hospital because I couldn't breathe. So next thing you know, I'm in the hospital, and all these nurses are running in with hazmat suits, like in a frenzy. Wow. And they take me to ICU immediately. And I was like, oh boy, I know what's going on here. So I'm in ICU with the oxygen tank in my on my face, and I'm on social media telling people, turn the fucking TV off.
Why?
Because I knew what was happening. I knew that I was put through that experience to see what was going on, one, inside the hospitals, right? Because you have CNN, ABC, CBS putting out, like, filming in ICU. I'm like, bruh, my family's not alone in ICU, let alone a cameraman, And I knew that they were going to start to entrain the world with this sickness and disease for whatever reason. You know what I mean? I still couldn't put my finger on all of it. But so that happens, and then all of a sudden the thing comes in, and then I'm starting to see, like, right, a lot of us were like, oh, don't feel COVID, blah 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 blah, the spiritual community, you know what I mean? It's nothing, but all of a sudden a vaccine comes into play, and my spiritual community is projecting fear. I'm like, I don't resonate with fear on either side. So because I transcend all matter, the mind is all and the all is mind over matter, I'm going to go and do this to show people that you can override it. Because for me, I had to travel and I had to do things. And I'm like, I'm going to now be facing resistance and screwing up my vibration everywhere I go because I don't have this. I said, no, I'm gonna take the path of least resistance. Now, mind you, when I got it, I'm still like, you know what I mean? I came home, I had the ion bath cell, I did my feet, like, you know, just extracting metals and all kinds of stuff. So even then, I'm still conditioning my mind in that sense. But I do understand that nothing can harm me, you know? So my fight became more, rather than trying to fight the government and being on social media and being angry every day, to learn to transcend that matter, and which is leading us to, like, there's so many people that got vaccinated. Now, are we to tell them you're doomed because you got vaccinated?
No,
You're
absolutely.
gonna die. Now we're condemning them. Now we're putting out all kinds of bad vibrations. Like, what is that? So I said, to create balance, I want to do this to show them there's nothing to be scared of, and to tell them there's nothing to be scared of either.
Yeah. No. It's like, see, I was the opposite. Everyone around me was getting it, right? Like everyone got it, but I was like, I would get one vision and I'd listen. I got 3 visions to not get. I was about, because the entertainment, I couldn't work. I ended up having to do other work. Eventually, I got injured, but that was the thing given to me, right? They were like, I got 3 visions about it.
Everyone's different. You know what I mean? So whatever you're getting is for you.
Yeah. No, so even that, I never stopped like praying for my family. So I was like, well, nothing's gonna happen to them, because regardless, like I wouldn't let nothing happen to them on a spiritual level either, right? Like physically or spiritually, right? So it was like, I got that, right? So no matter what, I felt like they were gonna be fine. So I was never projecting that, but I just feel that was my path to, like, I think it was meant to show me to start making my exit, right? Like, because when I started working around the entertainment, like when I started working, go ahead.
No, sorry, I'm listening.
No, because when I was working around the entertainment industry, I felt like, wow, this is the dream job, right? Like, because I had worked hard labor my whole life, right? Where things I wouldn't even wish on my enemy. Like it was like, I mean, I don't really have enemy, but like before, right? When I was young, I was like, I wouldn't even wish this on my worst enemy, right? Like I would work jobs that, you know, at night you had to take freaking, 800 milligrams of Motrin every night just to sleep, because like hard labor jobs, right? I always like, I think that was built into like culturally, right? You don't complain, you just work. Like that's how my parents taught me, right? It wasn't about like, oh, follow your dreams or nothing. It was like, oh, you work, So I would work all these jobs. And when I got into the entertainment industry, and that's how it happened. I was in the studio recording a song, and this guy comes in, and I had seen him on 2 movies, or I'd seen him on a movie with Jenny Jenny, what's her name? Jenny Rivera, the one that passed away, right?
Yeah.
And Gino Rodriguez. He was in a movie with them too, and then he was on that Sons of Anarchy show. So, he asked me for a favor. He's like, hey, I need to do this drop for a radio station. And, like, how it is when you have studio time scheduled, you're like, hey, that's my time, right? Like, so, but he was like, hey, man, just like 30 minutes. I was like, all right, fine. I was like, all right, he owes me something now, So when he comes out, I'm like, hey, how'd you get into like the whole, and he showed me, oh, I went to this agency, whatever. So after that, I went and I did it. And then I seen him at the studio again. I was like, hey, man, thanks for the information. I went and I did. He's like, what? He's like, I've told over 100 people. Nobody ever does it. He's like, I told you one time and you went and do it. So then he put me up on more game. Hey, check it out. Go with this. Use these kind of pictures. Go to, put your stuff on this profile, on this website too. So boom, from there, I hit the ground running. I was like, why didn't anybody tell me about this before? Like, this is the easiest work. Like, I was like, wow, this is amazing, right? Like, and so I was happy. I was like, wow, you could be happy at work, right? And it's funny. It'd be like if I was on a call with like 300 something people, I would find the one spiritual person. Like, almost like I was just like, and I'll be like, you're not into spiritual things by any chance, are you? Like, even once, no, it was funny. Even once the security guard, I was passing through, they were just, how how because I did like a ton like background, like even that after you join the union, then even background you get paid good, right? Like and all that stuff, and then every once in a while like I land something here and there, right? But even background was sustainable, right? Like I was like living good, everything. Even once they were just using like my car, right? They wanted an older truck, right? So I had this truck, and they had it parked over there. They're like, just don't get lost. So I go, and there's a security guard over there by holding, just watching over everything, And then something tells me to talk to her, and I was like, and then I go back. I'm like, hey, how's it going? She had her little headphones on, everything. And the next thing you know, we had like a 6 hour long conversation. She even breaks down crying because even
Wow.
I guess the guy she was with didn't believe her and all. Like she told me a spiritual story. Even once a voice told her, go to the hospital now because her grandma was there and that her boyfriend was like, you and your stupid spiritual stuff. And she's like, I don't like, she stuck to it. And when they got to the hospital, like she just made it to say goodbye and boom, her grandma passed. So like she wasn't like I always met people like this, right? That didn't have anyone to talk to. No matter where I was, it'd be like I'll hear the voice like talk to them, talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that in the entertainment industry, so I know like damn, I talked a lot, but
No. I love hearing it.
yeah.
It's highly interesting.
No, thank you. No, you as well. And just so everybody knows, like you have an amazing voice too. So I love your voice.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I heard like this. What was it? This like soulful one? You're like with the microphone or something, and you had so much like soul.
Level.
Yeah. Like that, like an old
Also,
soul kind of thing. Go ahead.
I'm still getting back to a place of actually loving my own voice
Mm.
because of certain people, even being in a wedding, singing in a whole live entertainment wedding band company in New York, like the owner of that company, she just kind of like, she shitted on me and other people have, and I lost my confidence in my voice.
What?
And of course I still sing, and I have some vocal damage due to a really bad relationship. But yeah, like
You were
a true,
yelling or you were
yeah,
yelling?
a true narcissist that can draw a reaction and anger out of an empath. And somebody in the music industry, and somebody who was a musical director to one of the biggest pop stars.
Mm.
And to me, this person has handler type energy, and
Mm.
I like it was like a demonic hold that I'm still like clearing right now, you know. And I even predicted probably about early of the year when this pop artist had an overdose and almost died. I predicted it. I
Wow.
predicted that there would be a revamping in the camp. And come to find out that this person has been a catalyst. Keep in mind, the people around the stars are, you know what I mean? Like, what is the team doing with an EpiPen? Because
Mm.
they're accustomed to pumping the celebrities with drugs, you know?
Yeah, I feel
So,
no, right now when you said that, I felt like pain in my throat. So I was like, oh man, I feel everything. Like I you know what I mean? Like that's one of the things. Like if I could feel like people's pain. So I felt that, right? I'm gonna ask you this. I don't know why. I feel like I'm supposed to. Do you know a Jacqueline by any chance? Is there any Jacqueline that you know?
yeah.
Ooh, they
A
just told. I heard a voice tell me something about like Jacqueline. I don't know why.
Okay. Any other information about a Jacqueline?
No, they just
Okay.
maybe it's just to confirm. Sometimes it's just to confirm, like, because I got because they reminded me because I had got it when I told you I saw like this, and I was about to interview you, and I'm in the shower and I see like this person sitting. See, I would have never known you were gonna mention the Pleiadians or nothing like that, right? So it was a person obviously like connected to the stars, right? Like a star person, right?
Yeah.
Like boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. And it's funny because her hair almost like the way you have I've been drawn to like your little curl stuff, and it was like, yeah, very. I'm telling you, they were like remember I said like geometrical stuff, but it,
Yeah.
it it went out. It wasn't just, but see, it almost starts from here, and the way it's
Mhm.
like, you know what I mean? I don't know. I heard Jacqueline and something about a cat. I was like, a cat? Like, you don't have a cat, do you? Or what does a cat mean to you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, cats are, we know they're protectors, which is why they were worshipped as gods by the Egyptians.
Mm.
I'm gonna keep that in mind because only one Jacqueline pops into mind, and like I don't really know her like that, but I'm just gonna keep that in mind.
Okay.
You know, thank you. But I'm seeing your gifting and your ability, you know, through your story. You know, telling me all your stories. You're a very incredible person, and
Oh, thank
I'm very happy I did this podcast today.
No, absolutely. Likewise. Yeah, yeah. And no, if you ever want to do song or something, let me know.
I was gonna say we should probably collaborate at some point. Really quick, I don't have you on social media, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'll add you
Oh my,
though.
is it already 5 o'clock, yo?
Oh shit. Why? It's not 5 here, but yeah, yeah. If you gotta go, go. How long were we
I gotta
talking?
go, but Omar, this went like this. Oh my God. Oh, like 5 minutes.
When did we start? I don't even remember.
3:15.
Oh, okay.
This is the longest podcast I've ever done.
Oh wow. Yeah,
That
and it's
felt like the shortest.
yeah.
Okay, what's your Instagram?
It's Oh the Architect.
Oh, architect.
I had like a beard, like it's
Got you.
okay.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Yeah, let's you know, I'm gonna get these couple projects out of the way, but I think we should definitely cook something up. So we'll stay in touch.
Yeah, yeah. And don't listen to people that I feel like all that's gonna be like your voice is gonna get better. I feel like that's what they told me, right? Like that your voice, you know, everything's gonna get good. So you're good.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. And I know this. I know that there's gonna be healing restored, but thank you. Thank you for hearing, thank you for saying that, because you know, it does mean a lot to me. So
Absolutely. See, now it makes sense. That's all I was supposed to tell you that. I saw you're not going to DC or anything because I saw something about the Capitol, but I had already heard you lived like near the Bay, right? Like, so was Sacramento significant to you for any chance? Sacramento, did you ever go over there a lot or something?
yeah, we were in Sacramento a lot.
Oh, okay. So I don't know why. Like, I just saw like a Capitol, like, you know, like on the top, how it's round
Yeah.
on the top. Like, I don't know why, like, so I don't know what that was
Well,
about.
I'm going to DC soon.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it meant. DC.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, sometimes, like,
No, you do know. So just like, thank you for telling me, because it's gonna like, the confirmations, it's gonna unravel. You know what I mean? So what you're telling me now, it's gonna unravel.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So that's all. Yeah. That's like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, if I get anything you want me to tell you, I'll tell you if I get anything else. Cause it was more like I was kind of in a rush and I started seeing all these things. You know, that even happened. I had a friend in a that's like, it's weird because this friend is like one of the most, like, I don't believe in nothing kind of friends. But in the dream, I told him the star people he came from. I was like, you come from these star people. And then he was looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And I just remember when I'm gone, it's going to be revealed to you that these are the star people you come from. Yeah. And then it was confirmed because then the dream switched to I was by the ocean and there were all these dolphins and everyone was scared to jump in the water, but I jumped in with the dolphins. And then they took me by the arm over there like they wanted to show me something, right? Then someone, I don't know, I messaged with someone that I had interviewed before and they're like, I told them, oh, I had the craziest dream last night about dolphins. And they're like, oh, you know, dolphins come from this star system. And that's the same star system I told my friend where he came from. So I didn't know all that. Yeah, I didn't know. So I was like, oh, wow. So that's true. So that's probably where he really comes. But it's so funny that in this reality, he's like, so like, I don't believe in nothing kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, yeah. But it's like, I guess that's probably where he comes from because I got like the confirmation, right, with the dolphins and stuff. Oh, no worries. No, well, we could, yeah, I don't want to keep you. I want to be respect. I know we talked, I could keep talking and talking. And
This was great. Shoot, even if we do another podcast, but I'm like, we got to do more for sure.
Absolutely. No, and if you ever want to do a live, like I just started doing lives so people could engage and interact, you know, like, yeah. So if you ever want to do a live too, we could do a live.
All right. Well, I got you locked in, so we're here.
Okay.
Yeah. So lots going on. We're all coming together.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, then I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you so much. Beautiful conversation.
Thank you, Omar. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, you too. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good one.
You too. Okay.
Bye.
Life may move fast, or it may move slow. I met a silly man who said he'd make it slow. We look up out towards space, or even at the sky. One that gets away, but never look inside. Breathe in, breathe out. same. I mean, human beings, I ain't got no doubt.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I wanna feel this way forever.